Classroom once again. Your teacher Tim back here once again. Excited to be here with you. And today, or this week rather, luckily I was able to get both streams, the content for both streams done in time. So as far as I know, unless anything crazy happens, we will be meeting obviously today since I'm here right now. And then again, we will be meeting on Sunday. Next week still up in the air. I would like to have streams next week because it looks like finally the stuff apart and then getting all the tables to be moved. So we're getting pretty far along in that process. Just kind of regulars here and some possible new students. Instruments competition. It was ace. Yeah, that's posted on the Piano Students on the Web Facebook page. Look that up if you're not a member of that already. Andy had posted that. I watched one or two of them, only parts of it though. But I'll have to check out the entire thing. But I did take a look through a couple of the videos that you posted there, Andy. And then we got Laredo back here again. Present and second. Good morning, evening, Tim. Fellow future maestros. Always a pleasure and gratifying to be a part of a great family of piano enthusiasts. I agree. Okay, let me go down here. Carol Christensen is back once again. Welcome back, Carol. I think it had been a little while since I've seen you, but it could just be that we've been kind of on and off with the live streams recently with me moving and getting everything ready for that. Okay, we got, and you know what I forgot tonight? I posted on social media. I got everything posted except I forgot to send the email reminder, which I usually remember, so once I get this whole move thing sorted out, I think I'll be a lot more on track all the way around. But I'm trying my best. I'm getting there. Let's take a look here. We got I hate when my Fridays and Sundays get interrupted. Such is life. Good morning, all, says Gary. Good evening. At least it's evening here for me. Looks like it's morning there for you. And then good evening, all, says Randy. Good evening, Randy. Glad that you could join us again today. And what is wrong with the feed? Mine is stuck. Yeah, try refreshing it. Refresh. Well, I guess you probably can't see me. Refresh is usually at the top left of the screen. It is an arrow. It's usually like an arrow that goes around in a circle. All right, and then I'm going to say hello to Alan, who is a newbie here from Tasmania, Australia. I don't know if I've ever had a student from Tasmania, Australia, but welcome. Glad to have you join us. Anybody else who's new, or even if you're returning, just so you know, we meet Fridays, Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we always have a great session together. All right, everybody, I am going to start out the Facebook stream, and then we're going to get right into the actual lesson here. I always just like to start out, though, saying hello to some people and, giving some general announcements. So just it's going to take less than a minute. I'm going to get the Facebook thing going here, and then we're going to get right into the lesson, which means I have to make sure I have that up. Hello, students, and welcome out to our classroom, Piano Lessons on the Web. Your teacher, Tim, here once again, and today I'm going to be teaching you about left-hand chord patterns. But first, if you are new to our live streams, we meet live Fridays, Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Facebook.com/Lessons on the Web and YouTube.com/Lessons on the Web. So make sure to take a mental note of that, because I would love if you could join us on a regular basis. So welcome, everybody. So happy you could come out with us. All right, let me get everything's pretty much sorted out already, but let me just make sure we're good to go here, and then we will get started. Okay, let me do one thing. Oh, turn on the keyboard would be nice, but here we go. I think we're pretty much ready. Okay, here we go. Hey students, your piano teacher Tim back here from Piano Lessons on the Web, and I'm willing to bet that you probably noticed that the left hand, has certain things that it does quite often. One of those things is play chord patterns. So a lot of times you have the right hand that plays the melody. Well, today we're talking about the left hand, which mostly plays the chords. Obviously, you can do more than that, but we're talking about the most common chord patterns that you're going to find in your music. Let's get started here with the first one. Okay, the first chord pattern we have here is the 1-4-1-5-1 pattern. If you're wondering what the numbers are all about, if you don't know, let me show you here on the piano that whenever we're in a certain key, here we happen to be in the key of C, 0 sharp, 0 flats. You have 8 notes in the key of C, starting from C up to the next C. You really have 7 individual notes because the last notes are the same, C and C. So anyway, you have notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1. So what a 1-4, like what the numbers mean is what note of the scale that chord is based on. So that's based on the first note of the scale. That's C major. The 4 chord is 4 notes up. That's F major. Back to C major for 1, G for 5, and then of course these are in inversions, which you will commonly find in your music. So that's why I put them that way. Here is the pattern on the piano. So there's 1, the C major. That's 4, that's the F major. Back to 1. 5. Back to 1. Make sure you practice this. I would practice this one the most, honestly, because this one you're going to see literally all the time. It's the most common chord progression in all of music. If you're feeling daring, try practicing these in different keys. The only thing you have to keep in mind that depending on what key you're in, so with C major you don't have to worry about any sharps or flats. That's why I wrote them that way. But if they are in different keys, you have to think about what sharps or flats are going on in that key. And if you happen to have a chord that has one of those notes, in key of G it just happens to be F sharp, you got to make sure you have that sharp in there. So if you're feeling brave, try it in all the keys, but just keep in mind of the key signature. Okay, let's talk about the next chord pattern. Okay, the next chord pattern is essentially the same thing. However, it's very common that your 7th chord or your 5 chord, so 1 chord, 4, 1, and then this one changes a little bit. It's very common for them to use what's called a dominant 7th chord on the 5 chord, and they actually leave out the D, the 5th, a lot of times. So just keep that in mind as well. So this is just an alteration, basically, on the last pattern we have. So I'm not going to explain what the 1s and the 4s all mean. I would practice both of these. I would practice them all, but these two in particular you're going to find a lot in your music, especially actually if you start learning cadences, which are these are cadences. These are basically chord patterns throughout a sheet of music that kind of gives you a direction moving into the piece. Okay, now here's one by itself. By the way, each chord pattern is separated by these 2 lines here. So this one is just one measure by itself, and that's the 2-5-1 pattern. So in C major, that would be 2 chord would be D minor, then you have that G major, and then right there. And you can actually also add 7ths onto these if you're feeling, adventuresome, if you know a bit about jazz. It's a very common, the 2-5-1 pattern is very, very common in jazz. You can also replace 5 sometimes with diminished 7th, just to kind of let you know that happens sometimes. All right, here's an alteration on that same thing. You have your 2 pattern, and then you're back to your 5-7 again. Back to 1 there. Okay, next I'm going to talk about the passing diminished pattern moving right along here. This is how this works, right? So this chord right here, let me grab the pen so I can show you, but I'm going to circle it here. This chord right here, this 2nd chord here, is what's called a passing diminished chord. It basically connects 2 chords together and passes in between them. The 2 chords I'm talking about are actually the C major chord and this D minor chord here. And basically what you're doing is it's two chords right next to each other, so C major and D major, right? And then what you're doing is you're adding in a chord in between them. So see how they're the base of the chord or root of the chord is a whole step away from C to D? Well, what you do is you go up a half step and you make that chord diminished. So it passes, so here's your C major, here's your passing diminished, back to 2, and then to 5, to 1. You can find, actually I should have played this with my left hand since that's what these are all for. So that's what a passing diminished chord is, or any kind of passing chord. So you take two chords right next to each other, you find one in between there, make it diminished. And it adds a little bit of an extra crunch to it, but you will find these patterns, especially in music, obviously in music, in like more modern music though. You won't find something like this. Maybe more in jazz or ragtime or something like that. And then obviously if you're feeling courageous, once again, practice it in different keys. You got to be careful of what though? You got to be careful that the chords fit the key signature that you're in. I can't stress that enough, because if you forget about that, it will not turn out well. And just so when you go to practice on your own, you understand why if it doesn't work out. Okay, now, why is there, like, see how there's D flat, F flat, and A double flat right here? We're going to talk for a second on why that is. So obviously you're going to have the D flat where it is, right? Because you need a D flat diminished chord. And if you don't know already, every D chord of any type, whether it's D major, D minor, D flat, D augmented, D7, anything, has to have a D of some kind, an F of some kind, and an A of some kind. That just helps you define the D flat chord, or the D chord of any type. This happens to be a D flat chord, so that's why this is a D flat. This is an F flat instead of an E, because remember it has to have a D of some type, F of some type, and an A of some type. And that's why this is actually A double flat, because the note for diminished chord has to be here. However, it also has to be an A of some kind, and the only way to make that work is an A double flat. Just so you know, because you will come across that music a lot. I get that question all the time. Okay, the last pattern we're going to talk about, there is more that I'm going to talk about here in a second or show you, but the next one is the deceptive pattern, and it's called a deceptive pattern because it's actually the 1-4-1-5-1 pattern, except the last one we're replacing the 1 with a 6. The chord I'm talking about is right here. Normally be C major, but it's in A minor, and we call it a deceptive cadence. See how it leads you to kind of believe that it's going to finish out like this? But instead, it deceives you, right? Yeah, see how it like kind of went into a different direction there. So maybe maybe the composer's intention was to end on a minor, or just kind of throw your ear off, because a lot of these chord patterns, like I mentioned, and the cadences are designed to give you they designed in a way to make the harmony feel like you're moving somewhere, right? Because if you just played random chords, it would, let me play them on the piano that you can see, it doesn't sound like anything, right? It doesn't sound like anything's moving anywhere. It doesn't sound like there's a pull anywhere. However, when you do these chord patterns, if I stop on that next to last one, you're like, man, it really feels like it needs to pull you back somewhere. So that's actually what a lot of these are about, and that's why you don't just have random chords everywhere in your piano pieces. So I would go through and practice these. One thing I have to tell you is that you're not always going to see them written out just like standard chords like this, because it's just too plain. What you're probably going to see instead are like, and now you will see this actually. It does happen in music, so don't think that you're never going to see it. But some different ways you're going to see it is you can see them written as arpeggios. So keep in mind you might be having to do a little brain work analyzing your pieces, figuring out exactly what the chord pattern exactly is. All right, let me show you maybe like a real life example. All right, everybody, let me get a piece of sheet music out here. Let me think. Where is it? Okay. Here we go. So, apologize for the delay, but we are ready already. Let me find a good example. Well, you know what a good example is? I don't know if I have it actually. Let's do for release. A lot of people know what for release is. And of course they do this again. Here we go. Because I always like to get a real world example out to you guys because I think it really helps solidify the whole thing. No, I don't want Microsoft Edge, thanks. All right. Anyway, I'm talking to my computer. Okay, here's an example that a lot of us are familiar with on how you might see the chords in your piece rather than just standard, chords that you see them as. So here in the left hand, you have your left hand patterns, as an arpeggio kind of spread out. And actually the opening here has a very simple chord progression. Let me show you on the piano actually. So you have A, E, A. We're just looking at the left hand part here. So if we're in A minor, that's the 1 chord. E, E, G sharp, that's an E major chord. That's the 5 chord. Back to the 1, back to the 1. So instead of adding the 4 chord in there, they just kind of go back between 1 and 5. You can see that. You can see the chords in a slightly different order. And then after that, you have a C chord, which is a little bit odd. That's a 3. So you can see different ones. Back to a, what would G be? That would be 7. Back to 1. So as you can see that, the chords aren't always easy to pick out. You might have to actually play the notes separately. And if you have music theory knowledge, this is why it's important to know music theory, because if you have the theory knowledge, you can use that to your advantage, saying like, okay, if I have the notes A, E, and A, what chord do I know that's closest to? Well, that's an A minor. And what does it make sense in the key that we're in? So I'm going to try to remember to put a link to lessons on key signatures and music theory in the description for you, in case you're not used to that theory, because being able to identify those chords by sight will make this whole thing a lot easier. But like I said, the whole point is just to show you that chords don't always appear strictly as chords. You got to use a little bit of analysis. Let's maybe look at a different example. Okay, I have a good one. Gotta stop doing that, though. And then anybody who's attending right now, if you're new here especially, don't worry, I did not forget about you. I will be taking questions here as soon as we are done. I'm just looking for another example to play for you guys, and I think the second movement here is a great example. Okay, here we have the second movement of the Pathetique Sonata, and actually the chords now are split between the right hand and the left hand. This is another way you're going to see your chords. So while it is a good idea to practice all these chords with your left hand, because most of the time you will see them there, just keep in mind that you can have them split up between both hands as well, just to kind of give you a little bit more context as to how you might be seeing these chords appear in your music. So as you can see, when I play the left hand by itself, it's just a single note. That's because the left hand actually in this case has kind of like a counter melody going on, which is a melody that kind of goes along with another encounter to another melody. So as you can tell, you couldn't hear any chords from that, but when I play it with the right hand included in this case, you can tell that there's a difference. You can actually hear the progression. So that's an A flat major chord, A flat C, and E flat. That tells you that. And then you're going to a G diminished, which is kind of interesting. So that's a 7 diminished chord. Oops. And then this is back to a 1 chord. So as I mentioned before, sometimes what you'll see is you'll find that these 5 chords that we were talking about before, which happens to be this G major chord right here, what you'll see sometimes is you'll see instead of the 5 chord, which is G, B, and D, you'll find what's called a 7th chord, or a leading tone chord. Sorry, 7th is used interchangeably in music when talking about chords, and it can get kind of confusing. But anyway, you go down, that's the 7th note, and that's the chord that you're building off of. So every once in a while, you're going to find that variation, the 1, 4, 1, 7, 1 progression. So just letting you know that you can interchange those, and that does happen in music a lot. All right. Any questions about what we talked about tonight? Let me look at some, like maybe one more example, if I can find one that's like quite a bit different than the one we did already. Nope. Nope. I'm looking for a good one. I'm actually looking for one that does have straight chords, because that definitely does happen. Actually, you know what has one? This minuet here. But let me get it open in this. Okay, Google Chrome. There we go. Okay, so we're going to talk quickly about the minuet in G by, well, it's not actually it's actually from the Notebook of Anna Magdalena Bach. It's by Petzold, not actually Johann Sebastian Bach, which a lot of people believe it is, and I did for a long time until actually somebody in the comments let me know. So I learned stuff from this channel also. Okay, as you can see in this piece, we actually have a left-hand chord here to start us out. And then you have kind of a counter melody going on after that. But as you can see in music, you will see the chords written as they are every once in a while. Unfortunately for the rest of this piece, or the rest of it is more of like a counter melody thing. Bach uses what's called counterpoint a lot, or people that write in the style of Bach, where there's really 2 lines of melody going on at once. So it's a little bit harder in that case. You really have to know what you're doing to pick out what chords are happening where. Okay. All right, everybody. So, wait, what did Barbara say? Under the video, it says live, oops, September 12th. Today is the 14th. Oops. I'll have to fix that, but luckily you guys are all here today. Sorry about that. I must have had a brain fart. Hey, Verna Hill's back again, everybody. How you doing, Verna? How you doing, everybody? Randy's here. All right, I'm going to answer some questions here. So, in a second. Oh, wait, let me get... I guys had you on Streamception there for a second. Here we go. All right. So let me know the questions you have about these chord patterns. It looks like there are some already. In the meantime, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about some things before I start taking more and more questions. But I will get your questions. Now's a great time to think of a question you might have. Write it in the comments, because I will scroll through here in a minute. But first, we're going to talk about something first that I'm excited about, that some of you already know about, but hey. Okay, today's lesson and every lesson is brought to you by the... Hold on a second, my brain just totally stopped. Today's lesson and every day's lesson is brought to you by the courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, where I have over 20 courses designed to help you learn a lot more about piano and music. If you like the lessons over here on the YouTube channel, you like my structure, you like how I'm very calm and the way I teach, you're digging it, and you're looking to either get an iron grasp on the beginner's topics or ready to take your piano playing to that next level, I highly recommend you check out the courses over on my website, because not only do they include instructional videos like the ones you see over here on the channel, they also include notes, worksheets, real sheet music to play, and a lot of other things, accompanying materials to help you get an iron grip on the topics that we cover. So unlike the YouTube channel where we cover something and then we kind of just move on, I don't really give you too much of an assignment or anything to really get a mastery on each topic. This will actually fix that in a way, or will provide more content for you to really practice and master each topic. It's a course. It's just like any course you would take, if you had to take an online course for school or anything like that. So there's a lot more that these courses can offer you compared to the YouTube channel. And also it covers more topics that we have never covered on the channel and probably never will cover, at least in the detail that I do over on the courses. And obviously you can contact me with any questions you have, and I'll be happy to answer that for you. You can learn at your own pace. These are online courses. They're with lifetime access. You don't have to worry about running out of time after a month or so. And they are compatible with all devices. So make sure to go to pianolessonsontheweb.com. Check it out, because it can really help you take things to that next level, especially if you're liking the channel already. And not to mention, it's also a great way to support the channel, because through your support over the years, I've been able to continue this, turn it into a livelihood for myself, which means as the future unfolds, I'll be able to do this more and more and more. And that wouldn't have been possible without all of you, this website and the YouTube channel. So it's also a great way to support what we do over here. One thing I definitely want to tell you right now is that there's a fall sale going on right now until September 22nd. Now, I know that sounds like it's a long time away, but you don't want to that's like another week, seriously. That's not really that long at all. And you don't want to wait, because I know me, if I waited, I would be kicking myself, because if you miss out, you're going to have to wait a few months before we have another sale. It's just the way it works. Another little tip I have for you is that you can purchase courses individually or in course packs. If you purchase them in course packs, you will get a discount already. As you can see, courses individually are usually $29.99. You can pick up this beginner's pack right now for $29.99 on sale, and it has 4 courses in it. So that's a very, very good deal. That pack's perfect for, like, if you just kind of discovered me recently and you're looking to really get a good solid review on the basic topics. And then you got the intermediate pack. So for $89.99, you get access to 9 courses, guys. 9 courses, which are usually $29.99 a piece. Same thing with the advanced pack, same thing. And then you can obviously get the best deal by getting the all course access existing, and any of the new courses that will be released, you'll get access to those. So as you can see, there's, I forget how many, but it's like 20 some. 23 courses right in front of me that you can learn from. So like I said, I want to tell you about that, because if you like what you see over here on the channel, you're ready for more. You want more Tim in your life, or you want more piano instruction in your life. You also want to learn more about music outside of just piano. You're going to learn about music theory as well. You're going to learn about improvisation, sight reading, ear training, and a lot of other topics that I was taught throughout my learning career, I guess, as a student, both taking private lessons when I was younger and attending Westchester University. This is the same type of instruction that I'm giving you through this website. So go to pianolessonsontheweb.com today. All courses are on sale for a limited time. Please do not miss out on this, because like I said, you're going to be kicking yourself, and then you're going to have to wait, and who likes to wait for anything, right? Well, anyway, thanks everybody. I just thought you would enjoy that, so I wanted to tell you about that. All right, we're not going anywhere. I don't know why it sounded like I was going to end it there, because I'm used to talking that way, but we're still here. Okay, so let me get to some questions now, because it looks like we have quite a few of them and quite a few people saying hello. We got Real Wednesday fan says, hurt my my right shoulder this week. Left hand practice only all week. Bah. Well, you know what? That might actually be good for you, Real Wednesday fan, because that will give you some practice just playing with your left hand, especially if you're right-handed, because a lot of right-handed people, their left hand's a bit weak on the piano, so that might actually turn out to be a good thing, as frustrating as it may be. Randy says, I cut my number 4 finger on right hand this morning, so all left hand for the next couple of days. Hope you get better soon. Oh man, it looks like a lot of our right hands are out of commission. Sorry, my allergies are acting up if you're wondering why I'm looking weird. Barbara says, after you refresh, okay, she's talking to Carol here from Bangor. Fuddy Duddy's back from Bangor, Maine, everybody. Probably starting to get a little colder there these days, because it is here where I am in Pennsylvania. Went mine to top 10, changed it, okay. Gary, I already say hi to Gary, good tip. Why are you not using Roman numerals for your chord numbers? Great question, because this was, I was going to do that, and actually maybe during the lesson I should have mentioned that. The reason behind that is that I try not to bog the piano lessons down with theory too much. I try to explain what's going on, but the whole Roman numerals thing, I just kind of made the conscious decision when I was writing out the lesson to not include it, just because that was going to be another thing I was going to have to explain. So I just wanted to put the numbers out there at first. If you guys wanted how all those work, the Roman numerals and stuff, check out my how to build chord progressions lesson. Just type in how to build chord progressions and piano lessons on the web. It really could have gone either way. I could have included them, but I just made the conscious decision not to. Okay, let's see here. We got somebody gave me $10. It's probably Gary. I'm going to scroll down here in a second. Okay, just making sure. If I missed your question, by the way, just feel free to ask it again. I apologize. When we have a lot of people, which is a great thing, sometimes I miss some people. All right, continuing to scroll down here. How are the chord numbers determined? So I mentioned a little bit before, Randy. Randy asked this question. It's a good question. How are the chord numbers determined? So it all depends on what key that you are in. So first of all, I recommend learning your scales for each key, because this helps really kind of map things out for you if you know like what key that you're in, and that you know... Wait, let me do this first, because this is kind of distracting me. Yeah, that's a little bit better. But anyway, it depends on all the key that you are in, right? So if you're in the key of C, your one chord is going to be some kind of C chord. All you do is you build a triad evenly spaced on that first note of the scale, and that's your one chord. One note over, that's the 2 chord. 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord. So the answer that you're looking for is that these chord numbers are based on the number of the scale note that it is. So right, so if you have your C major scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's really the first note again, since they're the same. It all depends on what note of the scale that chord is based on. So a 1, 4, 5 progression is built on the first note of the scale, built on the 4th note of the scale, the 5th note of the scale, and then usually back to the first note. So that's how the chord numbers are determined. Hey, from West Virginia. I said hi to Verna before, but welcome back, Verna. Happy to have you join us once again. Anonymous Pianist said, hello, people. Hello, Anonymous. Welcome out to our classroom. Anybody just joining us today, and I'll acknowledge the super chats in a second, but anybody just joining us today, feel free to always join us again. I always love to see more and more people come join us for our classrooms. We meet Fridays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we will meet again in 2 days, same start time as tonight. I would love if you could come back to that one. I find that the students that come back on a regular basis, they usually learn the most, because as you'll see that there's like things that we talk about previous lessons that kind of get brought up later. And sure, if you just attend in the middle every once in a while, I try to do my best to help you understand it. But if you really attend over the long term, then you're really going to pick this stuff up. But I understand that, we all have lives and things going on the weekend. So, but you're always welcome back. Okay. We got Avery here. Avery Hector says, can you go from major to relative minor scales using chords? Yes, you can. That is called a modulation, when you are switching keys between major and minor. So you can be in C major. Just give me a second here. So you can be in C major, right? So say we have a 1, 4, 5, and I want to modulate to A minor. So we're going to wind up in C major. Halfway through the piece, we're going to wind up in A minor at the end. And one way we do that is you can pick what's called a pivot chord or a common chord. It's called a common chord modulation. So what you do is you map out all the chords in the key of C. You map out all the chords in the key of A minor. Because they're relative keys, they actually share a lot of chords in common. So you could honestly pivot on this C major chord if you wanted. You can even pivot on the A major chord itself. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a 1 chord here, 4 chord, 5 chord, and then I'm just going to go, instead of back to 1, I'm going to do that deceptive cadence going to 6. And then all of a sudden we're in the key of A minor instead. So our 4 chord would really now, instead of being F major, is going to be in D minor. And then the 5th chord would be E major, should be that one, back to A minor. So you see, we started in C major, wound up in A minor. So that definitely is a thing. Just to let you guys know about that. Okay. I have a tendency to nose obscure things, as Barbara. Cheryl Vay says, oh, Cheryl's here, everybody. Hey, Tim and everybody. Fireflower's back here once again, too. All right. Glad to have you both with us here. Let's see. Gary Cook says, great courses, recommended to all. Thank you very much. Gary's talking about the courses over on my website. I was talking about, a couple of minutes ago. Piano lessons on the web.com. Go over there right now, or as soon as our lesson is over today, and check those out if you haven't already. Okay, let me keep going through some comments. Carol says, yes, Tim, you were calm. I had one teacher who made me so nervous because she was always rushing. It didn't work for me. I need someone calm. Yeah, I find that a lot of students do a lot better with somebody that's a little bit calmer. I'm actually calm, as you can probably guess, by nature. I'm just a calmer person all the way around. I'm a human being, though. I have my moments, trust me, where I can get thrown off a little bit. But yeah, I'm generally a very calm person. And I also try to remain calm during the lesson. And, I don't know if I want to I'm going to tell the story just because it's going to help you learn a little bit more about me. And I feel like when you know more about your teacher and you have a better relationship with your teacher, you actually learn better. So I will tell you the story. The reason I'm so calm, and the reason I make a point to be especially patient and calm with my students, at least I try my best. I've done very well so far. Like I said, I'm a human being, though, is because when I was little, my dad was the opposite, right? He was always rushing through things, like you said in the comments, and he was always very, I don't know, he was very overly aggressive on getting things done. I'll put it nicely that way. And what happened when I was a kid and he was showing me how to do anything, or I was helping him do anything, I'd be so nervous and so shooken up that I was always afraid to give an answer. Like even in school, like that just made me afraid to express myself. and made me afraid to do pretty much anything and like really learn. Like I really wasn't learning the best that way. I knew that because I was so frightened and like just that he would get impatient with me or whatever, because I knew, because when you have a teacher and they're impatient or whatever, you're more scared of making a mistake. I think anybody can relate to that, because you're like, oh no, are they gonna like hit me? Hey, my dad never hit me. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know, you just don't know what their reaction's gonna be. With a calm person, their reaction's gonna be calm, so that makes it a little bit easier to deal with. So anyway, just because of the way my dad was, I always unconsciously in my head knew that I didn't want to be that kind of teacher. I wanted to be somebody more warm and inviting and calmer, because I know that I personally learn a lot better that way. Like I said, with somebody who's a little bit more on edge, you might be like, just in your mind, like you're just a little bit more afraid to make mistakes. And I think that is a big mistake. Carol also says, yes, everyone sign up for Tim's lessons. The course is on my website, by the way. Tim's explanations and lessons are great. They make sense and it will work for you. Like I said, if you like what you see over here on the channel, you're going to love the courses over there. You probably know me by now, or you're getting to know me, and you probably know if you like me already or not. By the way, I want to take a minute here. Oh, wait, no. I'm still scrolling down. I will get to the super chats here. Carol says, if you are new, I put a video on his site saying how good it was. He was. It is my only video ever. LOL. Yeah, so if you go to the website, go to the testimonials. There is a testimonial there from Carol. And then any other student, if you're a student of my website, and you don't have to. I understand a lot of people aren't comfortable doing it because you kind of have to put yourself out there. But what I would love for you to do, if possible, is leave me a video review, because those are really effective. When people read written reviews, they're not 100% sure whether they're real. Mine are all real, by the way. I wouldn't put up anything fake to deceive you, like that. But when you see somebody's on a video testimonial, it's just a lot more credibility with that. So if written reviews are great. If you want to leave me a written review, that would be amazing as well. But if you could leave me a video review like Carol did, it would be super helpful. Like I said, you don't have to do it. Just throwing it out there. I just read Carol. So Gary has given a $10 Australian, I believe, super chat. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate that. And then Carol Christensen gave me an $11 super chat, and she said, raised you $1, Gary, LOL. So thank you guys so much for supporting the channel through the super chat. Anybody else, feel free to leave a super chat. Great way to support the channel if maybe you don't necessarily want the courses, or you only want to leave a few dollars. But, totally optional. Just want to throw it out there. Also, piano lessons on the web.com shirts. If you're in the United States, below the video, there should be like a scroll bar so you can buy a shirt. I need to remember to start putting more links in the newer videos so you can buy them. But teesprings.com, you can pick one of these bad boys up. Another great way to support the channel as well. Let's see. Thanks. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Oh, talking about the testimonial, says Carol. I had quite a time forgetting my name, forgetting what I was going to say. It was hilarious. You know what? And you can see it in the first video that I ever did, the piano lesson #1 video that I did, which is actually has the most views out of anything on my channel. You can tell that I'm not used to talking in front of a camera, and I remember recording my first lesson the first time, and how weird it was, because now I talk to the camera like I'm talking to a group of people, because like in my head I've developed that relationship with all of you, that student-teacher relationship, that I have names and faces in my mind and people in my mind to attach the camera to. So now I can talk to the camera like a person, but at first it wasn't like that. It was very difficult, so I can certainly relate to that. And I did forget things. One thing that I do is that if I have a script on exactly what I'm supposed to say at a certain time, it's very difficult for me. I can do it, but it's going to take a ton of, rehearsal. It's going to take a ton of outtakes and things like that, takeovers. And I get it eventually. But what I do best with is I just make a list of things I want to talk about, like an outline. And then I can just kind of improvise it around that. I just seem to do better that way. Okay. Gary says, haha, or that's haha hilarious. Real One's a Fan says, was learning modulation to and from parallel keys the other week quite tricky. Yeah. No, that wasn't, I don't think we talked about that at all on the channel. I do talk about it in my courses and the music theory courses. I don't think we talked about that, especially recently. It is quite tricky, I know. I'd have to make a whole lesson on just that. I even put a dress on for the occasion and makeup. Well, I appreciate that, as I'm sure do all of the people that have seen the review. Laredo says, what is the theory behind reharmonization? Does it only apply to jazz? I'm going to make this explanation as concise as possible without, making a whole lesson behind it. I believe that's covered in my music theory courses as well, reharmonization. But I made those a while ago, so I don't remember. I'd have to look at the descriptions. Okay. The theory behind reharmonization is you are taking the chords. It's actually literally what the word means. You're taking chords in a song and you are switching them with another chord. So you're reharmonizing it. You are literally redoing the harmony on it. It actually kind of goes along with some of the things we talked about today. Like, I'm going to bring it back to this deceptive cadence here from earlier. Remember that this deceptive cadence pattern, what makes it deceptive is this last chord here. You expect it to go to a C major, but it goes to an A minor. So because we have replaced that chord, we have reharmonized it. So simple chord swaps, simple chord substitutions are an example of reharmonization. When you get deep into reharmonization, there's a bunch of tactics that you can do. Like, you can fit in extra chords. You're not necessarily just replacing chords. You could be fitting in new chords that were not there before. And actually one easy way to add in a chord is, say I want to add in a chord right here. Now, obviously, in this time signature, it's not really going to make sense, but just as an example, one easy thing you can do to reharmonize any piece or, anything is to take the chord that you're aiming for. So, right, we're going to have our extra chord in here, and then this is the chord that we're really aiming for, that we got to move to, this C major here. And a very, very easy way to do that is take the C major chord, go up 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, build the chord there, and then just add that chord in right before the chord that you're going for. And that's a great way to reharmonize, or probably one of the most simple examples I can tell you. Let's see, G, B, and D. So like I said, it glowed red because, glowing red, it turned red because we have too many beats here, but see how that sounded pretty good just by adding that in. So a very safe bet is just to add in a dominant chord before any chord that you're going for. Again, I'd have to make a lesson just on this for, I think, a lot of people to really get it. And it is a little bit more of a complex subject than, what we've been talking about. Carol says, gotta run, Tim. Thanks, Tim, as usual, and I will see you Sunday, hopefully. Yes, I agree. So I'm like 99% sure we're going to have our live stream on Sunday this week. Luckily, I had more time this week to prepare. But thanks again for the super chat, Carol. Always glad to have you in the classroom. And also thank you for that review. Very, very helpful. So everybody say good evening to Carol. So thanks for coming, Carol, and have a great night. Okay, we got 10. Ace high. Wait. Ace is high, 10. What books do you recommend to learn about modulation and harmony in general from a pianist's point of view? Let me look some up, because I used to know about a lot of books. And then what happened was I graduated from college. And I still do know about a lot of books, but I don't know much about books on reharmonization. So just give me a second. Let me see if I can find one that's good that I can recommend that maybe I've looked through before. Hymns. One book where I learned about reharmonization was in jazz, and there's a book called Jazz Harmony or something. Honestly, I'm willing to bet a lot of these books are fine, but let me find the book that I used. I used a book similar to this one. I don't know if it's the same book. Maybe they changed the cover. Berklee Jazz Keyboard Harmony. A lot of these Berklee books are great because obviously Berklee is a really well-known school, music school. But mine was a Berklee book. I have it somewhere around here. But where I learned about harmonization and everything was through there, through a course I took on it. Let me look here for a second, because I'm not seeing it here, and I think it's right beside me here. So hold on. Okay. The book. Wait, I gotta close the curtain, and that thing's choking me. Okay, the book is called Modern Jazz Voicings. Now, it's been a long time since I've looked at this book. So I'm looking for a section on reharmonization, but it's not listed here in the... No, here it is. Reharmonizing note approaches. So this one does have some information on reharmonization and jazz voicings and things like that. It's called Modern Jazz Voicings, Arranging for Small, Medium Ensembles. Now, you probably want to know a bit about music theory before you read this book, because this was for like college music students, so they kind of assume you know some things already. But that's where I learned about it. I'm willing to bet that, like I said, a lot of these Berklee books here on Amazon or anywhere, I'd imagine they're pretty good. I can't give you 100% on any of these. Let me just type in reharmonization and then Berklee. Yeah, maybe you just want to check out this reharmonization techniques book right here. Let me see it. Oh, they have the look inside thing going on, which I always like. Okay, this book looks pretty good to me. The only thing I have to tell you is that it's very thick with jargon. Not so much jargon, but music. Well, maybe it is jargon by definition. But anyway, like more complex musical terms. So, you know, you might have to read through each thing a bunch of times before you're able to get it. And even as a music professional, I have to do that sometimes, because they really you really in your head have to know what these things are by the back of your hand. So like just to kind of read a little excerpt here from the book. The intervallic distance between these notes, two notes, is called a tritone, also known as an augmented fourth. The tritone's highly restless sound produces a strong sense of forward motion. So as you can see, it's not impossible to understand, but there is going to be a lot of stuff. It's really thick reading, I think, if you are newer to learning this kind of stuff. But I actually recommend, I have never owned this book, but I can actually tell you that this looks like a pretty good book based on the first few pages I've seen. And like I said, anything from Berkeley Press is usually pretty damn good. All right, good night again, Carol. All right, everybody. I think we are going to wrap it up here. We had a great lesson tonight. If I missed your question on anything, feel free to let me know. Oh, and then another part of Loretta's question, does it only apply to jazz? It applies like 99% to jazz, not necessarily 100%. But it's very strong in the jazz realm. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do like a kind of a formal outro here, and then we'll wrap it up from here. On Sunday, we are talking about different ways to count dotted quarter notes. So I notice a lot of students of mine struggle with counting dotted quarters, at least reliably. So I'm going to give you some tips on that on Sunday, so make sure to join us there. A little update on how the house is going, maybe like a little bit of a timeline. So I didn't get much done on it this week because I had a pretty good reason. My dad needed to get something, like he what happened was he got a stress test done. If you don't know what that is, you run on a treadmill and they monitor your heart. They found an abnormality in his heart, which turned out to be a blockage on the front of his heart. They put in a stent. It's all fixed. The doctor said he's in great shape and he's good to go. So, and he's doing really well. You know, I talked to him today and he's doing just fine. So that's good. So I had to take care of that this week. But anyway, to give you kind of a schedule on what's happening, I'm getting the carpets cleaned next Thursday on the 20th. I'm probably having people helping me move in that following week. So we're gonna have live streams next week, next Friday and Sunday. At least Friday. I don't know about the Sunday one, but we're definitely having one next week. Because there will be time between the carpets are cleaned, and then I'm going to have the movers help me move the following week. So likely we'll be on, obviously we'll be on the live stream on the 16th on Sunday. We'll have one on the 21st. The 23rd is a maybe, because I might have to start getting things ready before that. And then we'll probably be off the last week in September, and then the first week in October keyword should be in the new studio, which I'm excited to show you guys. It's a nicely actually painted room rather than down here in this basement, which is served okay, but it's going to be a lot better there. And I got new content coming out after that I've kind of been holding off on, so I'm really excited to get there. So just to kind of give you a timeline, that probably like the first week in October we will indeed be in our new place. Fuddy Duddy says, thank you, Tim, for another wonderful lesson. Thank you, Fuddy Duddy, for being such a wonderful student and coming and joining us today. And anybody else who's new or returning, feel free to join us once again. I always love to have you guys be a part of something that's important to me, which is teaching you all the world, piano, and music. If it weren't for you, I would have stopped doing this long ago. So thank you for your interest in learning piano, and I'm glad you liked the lessons. All right, let me do a little formal outro for real now, so when I cut this together it makes sense. Okay, you definitely, let me try again. You definitely want to check out some of the other lessons on the channel, particularly on playing with your left hand and playing different chords and chord progressions, things like that. And subscribe, because we got new lessons coming out all the time. You don't want to miss a beat. This has been your piano teacher, Tim, here from Piano Lessons on the Web. Thanks for joining us for this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, everybody, you have a great night. Thank you for coming by today. Remember, we're meeting again on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. go to pianolessonsontheweb.com. Take a look at what my courses can offer you, because I promise you that if you like the YouTube channel here, you are going to love my courses over there. And if you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I'm typing in the link here for all of you. And if you don't like them for whatever reason, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. So within 30 days, if you don't like it, just let me know, and I'll refund your money, no problemo. Thanks, Tim. Good night, says Randy. Thank you. And then Loretta says, glad to join you. I'm glad that you have joined us as well. All right, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for coming, and I'll talk to you in 2 days.